In this movie, we're going to have a go at making our own GPS app that will display our current coordinates. We're going to start by making a new single app view, which is a process you should be familiar with by now. Just going to come up with a name. You can use any name you like. I might just go something a bit witty like SMAPy GPS. Let's see how that goes. Yes. Now let's just leave things like that and hit next. Just going to save that just on my desktop. You can choose where you're going to save it. Now when it opens up this time, we have to actually add some functionality. So we're going to click on where it says capabilities, and we're just going to look down the list. These are all little add-ons that we can add to our code. We're going to add maps. So we just flick that switch that says on. You might notice there's some other things there of interest. And now we're going to go to our main storyboard. And from here, we can actually start adding our parts. So first of all, I want to add a map. So I just search for map, and I'm just going to drag it up and put it on my storyboard. Just going to roughly pull it in place, but I'm going to show you something that will help you align your screens better for different devices. So what we're going to actually do is put some constraints on. So if you notice, I hit that little icon down the bottom, and I can actually put like 0, 0, 0. And you'll notice that there'll be little red little icons saying that I've changed that setting. So basically what it's doing is it's pushing the map view locked into 0, 0, 0 on the edges around that little map object. Now after I do that, you'll see we've got a little bit of an error. And that's basically because it's not happy that we haven't set a height. So it doesn't know what to do. But there's a reason I haven't done that, and that's because I want to do that proportional. So I'm going to control click and drag from the map to the view, get this dropout, and choose equal heights. And you'll notice that there'll be two bars appear, and we want to choose the one on the outer side, and it will give us some options on the right hand side where we can actually change some settings, and we want to drop back the modifier to about 0.7. So basically what that's saying is it's making the map 70% of the size of the device we're using. So that means if we change to like an iPhone 4, an iPhone SE, an iPhone Plus, or even an iPad, the height of the map area is at 70% of the screen. It's pretty cool and pretty neat and helpful. Now, we'll just get that into place there. And now I'm going to add a couple of labels. First of all, I'm going to add in a vertical stack view, which allows us to line our labels. Now, this is important that we drag our view, our stack view, below the map. We don't want to cause any other problems. And this time I'm going to lock it in at 8, 16, 16. And finally, we're going to put 16 from the bottom. It's really important at this stage to make sure all those little red lines are highlighted. Now I'm going to hit add 4 constraints, and you'll notice that the stack view is actually sort of roughly centered around those measurements. Now I'm going to drop in 2 labels, label 1 and another label. This is going to be our latitude and longitude. I'm going to click back on my stack view because you notice they're not looking good. And then from the distribution drop down, I'm going to choose fill equally, which you can already see that they're lining up better. Now I'm just going to make some adjustments to both those labels. You might want to pause it here and just have a look at my settings, make them bold, make them a bit bigger, center them, and that looks reasonably good. I'm just going to change mine so it's an iPhone 10 layout. So I'm just going to click there and that should come up. I just like it looking like that. There's no need to do any different. Make sure I've got iPhone 10 as my preview and hit play. So as you can see, it's coming up pretty much the way we want. We've got our map, we've got our 2 labels, and we haven't really done anything else yet because we now have to start doing some code. You're going to hit stop, and we're going to switch to the view controller where we can actually start linking things together. Now the other thing is, because this is going to use our GPS of our phone, we have to make sure the user is happy with that. So we switch over to the info plist file, and I've just made that a little bit wider. And I'm going to hit the plus button, and I'm going to look for privacy hyphen location always and when in use usage description. So I'm just scrolling down looking for that. Okay, so that's important. Now I'm going to add another one that says privacy location when in use usage description. They kind of sound the same, but they actually are not. So we need to add both of those, and you can see mine there. You might want to pause and make sure you've got those in. So that's important. So that's going to give us the pop-up for the user to say, do you want to share your location? Okay, so now returning to our view controller, we can start adding bits of code that's going to get this to work. Now, first of all, we need to import a new library file, and we're going to import mapkit, and we're going to import another library file called core location. Okay, and they're two important things that they contain functions that we can reuse, so we don't have to write that code. Apple's already done that. So in our view controller definition, we also have to add a CL location manager delegate. So it's telling the view controller that it can inherit some properties from another class. It's a bit technical, but we need to do it. We're also going to add another property or function to our class, and we're looking for view will appear. And this is a step that will happen before view did load. So anything that happens in here, this is happening like before that. So we also need to write another function in here called super view will appear, and animated is what we're going to make it. So similar to view did load. If this is confusing, that's okay. All right, we just need to follow it through. The next line is going to be typing in so that we can actually determine my location. This is going to be something that we create ourselves, but I'm actually just putting in the function definition because that's the thing I'm saying I want to happen before you display anything on the screen. Okay. So now we need to start making that function declaration. Oh, and you can see it's saying, I don't know what that is because we haven't written it yet. So function, determine my location. Now, obviously none of the suggestions down below are going to work for this. So you need to type the whole thing in. And we're just going to go open bracket, close bracket, do our curly bracket and hit enter. Now we're going to start adding some code that might be very confusing. So we need to create a variable, and because it's variable we need a lowercase, so it's going to be called location manager, and this is going to be of type CL location manager. Okay, so just like you'd have a type of an integer or a double or a string, this one is of CL location manager. And the exclamation mark is important, so make sure you put that in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we can use that variable in our function. So we're going to say location manager is equal to CL location manager function. So there's a function that it calls to actually determine that location. Now we can actually start talking to that variable. So we can say location manager.delegate is equal to self. Again, this might be confusing, or it will be. Location manager.desired accuracy. This one might make sense. So we're actually going to say choose the best accuracy. And now we're going to add location manager, and we're after request always authorization. So that means that pop-up comes up saying, do you want to share your location? So you'll see this running, hopefully. Now let's get an if statement in. So if the location manager location services is enabled, so that's saying if the user says yes, then we're going to get the location manager to start updating the location. So that looks good to me. A bit tricky. You might want to pause, make sure you've gone through it all. Take your time with this. This is confusing at the best of times. So now what we need to do is add a location manager function. Now, as I start typing in location manager, you'll see these functions coming up for us. And that is because, remember when we talked about adding the libraries and adding a CL location manager delegate, that's why we can see these functions. These are the ones that Apple has written. So we're looking for location manager, and it's did update locations. That's the keyword we're looking for. So when you scroll down and find that and hit enter, it should come up looking like that. So if yours doesn't look like that, go back and have a look again. It should have did update locations in it. So let's now create a new variable. So we're going to say let location equal location. And we're using a square bracket with a 0 in it. And that basically is saying like the current location that it's seeing. And we're making that a CL location. We're going to say let center equal, and this is the actual like center where we're dropping the map center where it's going to be focused. So we're looking for CLL location coordinate 2D. And as I hit enter, I can do an open bracket and it suggests the rest of the function. So now it's actually asking for the longitude and the latitude. And we get that from the location variable that we set from above. So we go location dot coordinate dot latitude. Now it may not suggest this, so you have to just type it. And the other one we want is location dot coordinate, and you could probably guess dot longitude. So we're basically defining some variables to set up what our map's going to look like. So far we've got the location itself, like where we currently are. Sorry, that should be locations. Maybe that's why we were having trouble getting the suggestion. We're getting our error here because we haven't used the center variable yet, but we'll get to that. So now we're going to set our region. So we're going to go let region equal, this time we're going to use an MK, which you might guess comes from mapkit. We're going to go mapkit coordinate region. We're going to use the center, so center and span. Now our span is going to be getting from MK coordinate span, open bracket, and then we get suggested the rest. So our longitude delta is 0.01, and we're going to do 0.01 for our longitude delta. So this is the actual view that is visible in the map. So we can actually make them bigger and smaller numbers, and you see more of the map. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to update our map. So if I start typing in self.mapView, and we can't do that yet because you might have guessed we haven't linked our map to our code. So I'm going to make some room. I'm going to go back to our storyboard. I'm going to bring up so we can see both views at a time. I'm going to control click from my map and drag over. So we're going to put our outlets in. This one's going to be called map view. I'm going to do it for my labels. So my first label is going to be latitude label. And then I'm going to add one for longitude label. So now that we can actually start talking to those outlets from our code. Great. I just like to tidy these up a little bit. Just makes it easier for me to say, I think. So now returning back to just the view controller and our single view of it. Now we can start using those. So if I return back to where I started typing, and now I can actually do the self.mapView, see how it's actually recognizing it as an item that we know. And then I'm going to go report back to it and say, what is the region? So the region is going to be region, and the animation is going to be true. So that will give us a nice little zoom into the region when we open the app. Now what I'm going to do is talk to the latitude and longitude. So I'm going to go self.latitude label .text is equal to And now we can actually go locations, which we're seeing up here, coordinate latitude. Okay. So we're just typing in that same thing again. And then I think it would speak for itself. Oh, we got an error here saying that we can't put a double to a string. So we can fix that easily by putting the word string and an open and closed bracket around it. And then Swift will convert the double, which is a number, into a string. Now we're going to do the same for longitude label. This time I'm going to put the string wording in straight away and just speed up the process. That's a good trick to learn about how if we're going to write a number to a label, the label's .text value is expecting a string, not a number. So you have to do that conversion. Okay, let's run it and see what happens. Oh, look, here's our pop-up. Do you want to use a location? I'm going to say only while using it. You might have seen that little zoom in sort of process there. And I can fake a location if I want to. So if I go up to debug location, choose custom location, and then I can type in some numbers. So I just so happen to know that the school is located at something like minus 31.877248 latitude, and longitude is 115.765,389, something like that. Yep. And there you go. It's moved to the school. So I can actually fake my location because obviously I'm running this on my computer, so I can't actually do that. So that's pretty much how finish your code, but you might want to zoom in a bit more on that location. So if you want to change the region, you can change those 0.01 to say 0.001 and 0.001. And that gives us a bit more of a zoom in of where we are in the school. And as you can see, like I'm smack bang in the school somewhere. So you could filter that better. But once you use it on your phone, you'll see it better anyway. So if you have an Apple ID set up, and I will give you instructions to do this in another movie, you can connect your phone and then go up to where you choose the device to simulate, and you'll see your own device plugged in. So you can choose that and run the app from there. And as you can see, we've actually got a dot location now because it can actually see where the phone is, and you can see the numbers are updating live. Now you can disconnect your phone from your computer and still run the app. Walk around the school and see how it goes. Well done.